per 9000's game room.
I remember when Alien Storm first came out, most people, rather unfairly in my opinion, referred to it as Golden Axe with aliens. On the surface, Alien Storm does share quite a few similarities with Golden Axe. Both were made by SEGA, and both are basically games in the old side-scrolling beat-em-up mould. They also have a choice of 3 different characters, and one of them is a lady. I'd argue though that Alien Storm was trying to be so much more. Golden Axe and a lot of games like it suffer from the repetitiveness of the genre. You kill identical enemy after enemy, then get to the odd boss who's basically an enemy who looks a bit different, hits harder and has a longer health bar. Rinse, repeat. This is where Alien Storm did something a little bit more. It stood out at the time for me by trying to add some different styles of gameplay to the mix to reduce the repetitiveness. Firstly, you have an Operation Wolf light gun inspired bit where you go through TV shops and supermarkets blasting aliens and shooting energy and health to collect them. Then you have sections when you're running along and shooting at enemies trying to reach the end of the level. For a beat 'em up it seems quite fast really, with skilled players diving across the screen from side to side dodging the hordes. With Alien Storm there is this sense that they really did try to throw a few curveballs into the mix to help keep the gameplay fresh and exciting. You can note that both this and Golden Axe 2 came out in the same year, and while this game basically tried new things, Golden Axe 2 was a more of the same sequel that really didn't offer anything the first Golden Axe hadn't. Yet Golden Axe would go on to get a second sequel in Japan at least, in the form of Golden Axe 3, and would eventually get a modern if poor sequel, Golden Axe Beast Rider. In contrast, Alien Storm never got a sequel, which I think is a crying shame. Okay, so let's talk about the game's story. Well, it's not an inventive one. Its plot is basic. Aliens are trying to invade Earth and you have to stop them. You have your typical choice of 3 combatants, in this case a man, a woman and a robot. They're not bad, they do the job, but it's the aliens that are truly worthy of praise. There's a reasonable number of different types, from little goblin-esque things that claw at you, to sludgy things that scrape along the floor and try to swallow you whole, but the real beauty of it is when you see them hiding in dustbins or dressed as civilians. Despite having a huge purple melon for a head, some of these aliens think they can dress up like little kids, and you won't know. It's brilliant. The game does have the cloned baddies who are the same as others in the game but different colours, but it's not as bad for this as other games are. The story might be a bit of a typical one plot-wise, but it's also kind of awesome in a B-movie cheese way, and I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. You take how B-movie it feels and then you factor in the humour, and I think this gives the game such a unique character. The game's style is a sort of what people in the 50s thought about spacemen and aliens. You're wearing a sort of shiny boiler suit with a short distance hand laser connected to a backpack, fighting evil hideous aliens, while objectives are shut up on the screen at the very start of each level, like save the people. The game comes across as incredibly camp, but in a fun and amusing way. It doesn't play it safe and sensible. No, instead it embraces its inner wackiness and camps it up, and bless it, this really works for it. So the whole point of a review really is to help people decide if a game's worth downloading or hunting down a cartridge of. My answer in this case is a definite yes. Simply put, on the face of it, the Final Fight and Streets of Rage games may appear to have held up infinitely better than Alien Storm, what with their higher quality soundtracks and more serious tone, but this game has its own spark. It breaks up the action in interesting ways, and in doing so tries to tackle some of the weaknesses that caused the genre's demise. It has a sense of humour, and it's different enough to other games of its type to stand on its own and not be considered just another one of those Final Fight clone games. Is it a Streets of Rage beater? No. Is it better than Golden Axe? Well, I guess that would depend on your choice of poison, sci-fi or fantasy, but for me, Alien Storm wins. If I had to give this game a rating out of 10 stars, I'd give it 9 out of 10. It's interesting, it's different and it's fun. It will make you smile while you're playing it. Most importantly, if you're anything like me, then you'll just keep on coming back to it. I can't leave this game alone. Every few months I'll find myself jumping back on for another go. It just keeps pulling me in. It's important to note that the game can be picked up nowadays in a variety of ways. You can obviously get the original cart. It was also available on Mega Games Cart along with other games, and these carts, despite having more on them, can often be cheaper on places like eBay. The game has also made its way to a few of the SEGA compilations over the years, so it's worth checking if you have it on one of these or if you can get hold of it cheaply this way. At one point I was actually commissioned to write a review for this game. It's one of a few occasions when I've nearly ended up writing for a well-known site or getting paid for my review work. But it's always fallen through. When I started my original blog, I put the review for this game up on it as I just didn't want my hard work to go to waste. So I suppose that's another reason why this game sort of always has a special place in my heart. If it wasn't for this, then I wouldn't be into doing these big reviews. So I've always got to kind of give the game a little bit of love for that. Okay, that's Kerr9000 signing off, saying keep on gaming.